Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Now, this is obviously the sequel to Fantastic Beasts: Where to Find Them, and that is the prequel series of Harry Potter. Now, I'm a big fan of Harry Potter, as you can see behind me. Also, a big fan of the first Fantastic Beasts movie. I was pleasantly surprised at that movie. I think that movie was very good, and I was hoping for the same for this one. Now, this one stars Eddie Redmayne again as Newt Scamander, as well as Johnny Depp, Jude Law, Dan Fogler, Zoe Kravitz, Alison Sudol, the main girl that plays Tina, that I can't remember the name of, directed by David Yates, who had directed the first movie and I think one or two of the Harry Potter films. And it basically follows the story on from the first one, but kind of, it has the same characters, and it follows the more in the Grindelwald, as you can tell by the name. I didn't really, not a big fan of the whole Fantastic Beasts name, because I feel like the Fantastic Beasts part really hones into the first film, but as a franchise, as this film franchise that they're building it up to be, I don't know if it quite fits. Now, I don't know how to feel about this movie, because I found this really hard to when I was, lightly scripting this review, I struggled, because this movie has really got me torn, because after seeing it, I came out and I really enjoyed it, and I was like, alright, that was really good. And me and my friend, we actually saw it the day it was before it was released. We saw it the night before on a pre-screening. We kind of talked and went more into it, and the more I seem to talk about it, the more things I'm finding I don't necessarily like, or that are cracks in the film. Now, of course, there's some great things about this film. I think David Yates does a great job of directing the film. I think the score is really good. The characters, for the most part, I'd say the acting is really well done. I think Newt Scamander, played by Eddie Redmayne, was great again. And then, Johnny Depp, I don't think does a great job, but I think it's hard because he does a good job, but I think it's hard because we're comparing him to Voldemort, and Voldemort's such an iconic villain, and you're like, is he going to be as good at that? Probably not. I think they underutilize him a little bit as well. But I love Jude Law as Albus Dumbledore, a younger Albus Dumbledore. He was great, and I think Credence, played by Ezra Miller, who I forgot to mention in the start, he was good as well. So I think a great cast. I think the score is really intensifying the whole movie, which is an awesome thing, and I think the direction is really well done. Now, it was entertaining. I sat through the film and I was thoroughly entertained, even though the plot, which I'll get into in the story, I'll explain, why that is such a weird part of this movie. This enjoyability factor was always there for me. I was never bored, I was never dull. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And maybe that was a thing because they put in a lot of references to the original Harry Potter in this movie. A lot. Like, a lot compared to the first one as well. So maybe that was a bit of a nostalgia factor, a bit of Harry Potter fandom sitting there going, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. And that's what kind of engaged me into really enjoying this film. And it wasn't until I started breaking it down, which I found a few more of the creases of the film. Now, those creases are the plot. The story that we get goes back on the first one, which is a big thing we talked about with my friend, and a big thing you can notice during the film is how much you go back on in that first one. The first one, to me, felt like a solo movie. It felt like it did its own thing. It felt like it was separate to Harry Potter, but same at the same time, and it was awesome. Enjoyable, great film, well done. Well done. Tick it off. This film felt more like a Harry Potter film. It felt more like a franchise film, which I think was a good thing when I was watching it. But the plot got kind of convoluted. It got very messy. They were trying to do multiple things at once to try to set up multiple things later on. And that can be a lot of mess. And the way they use some of the characters in the first film really get misused in this film. Specifically, 3 characters I can name. The first 4. So the main 4 characters in the first one are obviously Tina, Queenie, Jacob, and Newt himself. Newt, well used, he's the main character again in this film, but Queenie, Tina, and Jacob are really underutilized in this film. Jacob really didn't get his time to shine, although he was in the film a lot. The way they used Queenie, who I really, really liked in the first film, really enjoyed her character. I was really compelled by that character for whatever reason. I don't think they used her well at all. And Tina, you didn't really see as much as you should have, and when you did see her, she didn't really do much either. So that's kind of when we're talking about, well, they went back on the first one, they didn't use their characters as well, and a lot of the story that you saw, and if you know, not really spoiling it, but Jacob's in this one. Wasn't he meant to get mind wiped? Oh yeah, what happened? They'll explain that in the first 2 minutes of the film, because what happened in the first one? Oh, Ezra Miller, didn't he die in the first one, but he's casted in this one? Oh, we'll explain that. So, that's the kind of stuff that you gotta think, alright, maybe they obviously writing this as a movie, not just a book like the first ones were written off a book. I know there is a Fantastic Beasts book, but I think there's only one, and they're trying to do a 5-movie franchise, which really, you can see that they're trying to put in a lot of stuff. They're focusing on characters you don't care about, and they're doing stuff that you really don't necessarily need. And again, it is enjoyable. I really did have a good time watching this film, but just breaking it down, maybe such a fandom moment going, oh, what can this lead into? But then there was a lot of, oh, wait, oh, what? Oh, that doesn't make sense. Oh, that's kind of weird. A lot of that happened after watching this film. I think, again, it does feel like more of a franchise, and I feel like they can top it and make it really good, because I think the first and second films are different films, and I think the rest of the franchise you can see is going to be more like this second film. So maybe if you can do what you did well in this second film, but just top it, because there was a lot of things that you did good in this film, but also a few things that you could have improved on. If we can get those improvements in the next sequels, you can get a really good franchise. But in the end, it is just a fun time where it does, you can tie back into the franchise. You can get some Harry Potter moments that you go, that was enjoyable. You can have some good score, you can have a few witch scenes, you can have a few awesome moments, but, when you break it down, maybe it's not as good as you first anticipated. This is really hard for me to review because of that reason itself. I'm to give Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald a B-. I am hot quick with this review, so I hope you guys liked it. It came out very, very quick, very, very quick. Watched it on Wednesday, gave it a day, thought about it a little bit. Reviewing it on Friday, getting it up on Friday. So how do you like that? The day after release, put it up. Let's fucking go. More of that to come. Subscribe, like, comment what you thought of the movie, what you thought of the review, whatever you want to talk about. Let me know below. But of course, have a good one.